Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India calls for comprehensive reform of United Nations structure. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hands over indigenously developed equipment and systems to Indian Army to enhance operational preparedness. New Delhi contributes $4 lakh to UN trust funds for protection of human rights. At least 31 people killed as heavy rain set off flash floods in Afghanistan. China imposes sanctions on Taiwanese political figures. US, South Korea and Japan hold missile defense exercise off coast of Hawaii. And Asia's oldest football tournament, Durand Cup, kicks off. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has stressed on the comprehensive reform of United Nations structure, saying that this worrying shortcoming of United Nations system is manifestation of its structural inadequacy. He said that United Nations might progressively lose its effectiveness and relevance without democratization in decision-making and comprehensive reforms of United Nations structure. The minister was addressing the plenary session of Moscow Conference on International Security 2022 virtually on Tuesday. Mr. Singh said, at the core of India's call for reformed multilateralism lies the reform of the United Nations Security Council, which is reflective of the contemporary realities.
India, representing 1/6 of humanity and which has relentlessly contributed to the global security under the United Nations Charter, doesn't have a fair share in the decision-making structure of the United Nations Security Council on a permanent basis. India has demonstrated its deep commitment to the goal of universal, non-discriminatory and verifiable nuclear disarmament, remaining ever active in the world's single multilateral negotiation forum, Conference on Disarmament.
On the Indo-Pacific region, the Defence Minister said, as a nation central to the Indian Ocean, India is committed to a free, open, secure and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. He said, countries' focus on regional maritime cooperation in the Indian Ocean bear testimony to the value that India places on multilateralism.
In true spirit of multilateralism, it is incumbent on all nations to abide by the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea, which provides us with a legal order for peaceful, equitable, and efficient utilization and the study, protection, and the preservation of maritime domain. As a nation central to the Indian Ocean, India is committed to a free, open, secure, and inclusive Indo-Pacific region that promotes sustainable maritime trade and economic practices, resilient infrastructure, and adherence to global legal order.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh handed over indigenously developed equipment and systems to the Indian Army in New Delhi on Tuesday. Future infantry soldier, new generation anti-personnel mine, upgraded sight system for tanks, high mobility infantry protected vehicles and assault boats are among the state-of-the-art equipment. The equipment and systems have been jointly developed by Indian Army in collaboration with Defence Research and Development Organization and the industry, in line with Prime Minister's vision to modernize the armed forces. Under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, Mr. Singh exuded confidence that these equipment and systems will enhance the operational preparedness of the Indian Army and enhance their efficiency. He said, it is a shining example of the country's growing self-reliance prowess in partnership with the private sector and other institutions.
India has contributed $4 lakh to 4 voluntary trust funds as part of its commitment to global promotion and protection of human rights and support for United Nations human rights. India's permanent mission at the United Nations in Geneva in a tweet said that the contribution reflects India's commitment in this regard. The 4 trust funds to which contribution has been made include the Voluntary Fund for Victims of Torture, the Voluntary Fund for Technical Cooperation, the Voluntary Fund for Financial and Technical Assistance for the Implementation of Universal Periodic Review, and the Voluntary Technical Assistance Trust Fund to support the participation of least developed countries and small island developing states in the world of the Council. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation today with French President Emmanuel Macron. According to the statement of Prime Minister's office, Mr. Modi conveyed his solidarity to Mr. Macron for the ongoing drought and wildfires in France. The two leaders reviewed ongoing bilateral initiatives, including defence cooperation projects and cooperation in civil nuclear energy. They also discussed important geopolitical challenges, including those related to global food security. The leaders expressed satisfaction at the depth and strength that the India-France strategic partnership has acquired in recent years and agreed to continue working closely together to expand the relationship to new areas of cooperation.
In Afghanistan, at least 31 people died in flash floods in the northern province of Parwa. A state-run Bakhtar news agency reported that heavy rains hit the province north of Kabul on Sunday, causing the flash flooding. Officials said children were among the dead and dozens of people were still missing, while thousands of acres of land, livestock and roads were affected. 3 districts in Parwa were especially hard hit. According to media reports, more than 100 homes were partially or completely destroyed. Other provinces, including Kapisa, Panjshir and Nangarhar, were also affected by the flooding. The White House's top health official has said that India and the US have done more than any other nation in the fight against global COVID-19. The White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator Dr. Ashish Jha highlighted the massive efforts by the two countries to vaccinate their people, along with supporting and donating to other nations to tackle the pandemic. Dr. Jha was speaking at a reception hosted by India's ambassador to the US, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, at the India House to celebrate 75th anniversary of independence. He said it was an incredible honor and pleasure to celebrate 75 years of India's independence, democracy and the Indian-American friendship. Dr. Jha said, as a proud Indian-American, he recalled US President Joe Biden's words, who said, "The vibrant Indian-American community has made America more innovative, more inclusive and a stronger nation." Dr. Jha said, India and the US are the world's two most consequential democracies. He said the shared values of promoting human dignity and human freedom, pluralism, belief and the rule of law have brought the two nations together.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series Special Independence Day Celebrations Abroad.
Diaspora celebrated the 75th anniversary of India's independence by hoisting the tricolour and singing the national anthem and patriotic songs at the nation's missions. The Indian community turned out in large numbers and enthusiastically participated with patriotic fervour in the celebrations around the globe. In Bangladesh, the Indian High Commissioner Vikram Doraiswamy hoisted the national flag, followed by reading of the message by President Draupadi Murmu, delivered on the eve of Independence Day on 14th of August. Artists of the Indira Gandhi Cultural Centre performed patriotic songs. Talking to Prasar Bharati special correspondent in Dhaka, the High Commissioner expressed deep satisfaction on the participation of the Indian community after a gap of 2 years. The Assistant High Commissions, AHC of India in Sylhet, Khulna, Chattogram and Rajshahi also organized celebrations. The 75th Independence Day celebrations began in Nepal with the hoisting of the national flag by Councillor Prasanna Srivastav. The address to the nation by the President of India was read out that recalled the sacrifices made by our freedom fighters and highlighted the country's achievements in various fields. The embassy felicitated widows and next of kin of deceased Gorkha soldiers of the Indian Armed Forces. The embassy also awarded the winners of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav quiz. The Government of India had organized a quiz to motivate overseas Indian youth and foreign nationals to enhance their knowledge about India. Teachers and students of the Swami Vivekanand Cultural Centre of the Embassy and Kendriya Vidyalaya School, Kathmandu, rendered patriotic songs and performances. Independence Day celebrations were held across Singapore, Republic of Korea, Japan and other Asian countries with whom India shares cordial ties. In Singapore, more than 800 Indians joined the Indian High Commissioner, Mr. P. Kumaran, in celebrations at the Grange Road High Commission complex. A 16-member band from the patrol vessel INS Saryu played patriotic songs as part of the Indian initiative to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. In Japan, the Indian ambassador Sanjay Kumar Verma hoisted the national flag, followed by the reading of the President of India's address to the nation. The Indian diaspora in Japan and Friends of India joined the ceremony. The ceremony also featured singing of patriotic songs by students of Global Indian International School and Indian International School in Japan. Ambassador Verma felicitated the winners of Netaji Essay Competition, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav Quiz and Har Ghar Tiranga Quiz. A number of cultural programs were performed by the Indian community members and Korean nationals at the Embassy of India in Seoul. The event began with Ambassador Sri Priya Ranganathan hoisting the national, followed by singing of the national anthem. Around 200 members of the Indian community residing in the Republic of Korea attended the event. It was also telecast live on the embassy's social media handles. The Indian diaspora members gathered in large numbers at the Embassy of India in Beijing and consulates at Guangzhou and Shanghai on the solemn occasion. They expressed their happiness and pride as India celebrated her 76th Independence Day and remembered the supreme sacrifices of our freedom fighters. They also committed themselves to preserve and uphold the culture and values of India. One of the highlights of the day was the inauguration of the Atmanirbhar Corner by Ambassador Pradeep Rawat in the Swami Vivekanand Cultural Center. It is meant to be a space designed to showcase the diversity manifest in the handicraft forms of different cultures and states of India. Another highlight was a theatrical presentation, Saga of Courage, depicting India's freedom fighters by children from the Indian community and dance performances on patriotic songs by members of Indian embassy family. The dance drama, scripted and directed by Darshan Nayak, a member of the Indian community in Beijing, which brought to life so many of the freedom fighters through a hypothetical conversation between former Indian President and scientist Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and a young NRI student. A flag hoisting ceremony was held at the Embassy of India in Russia. Members of the Indian community were encouraged to participate online due to the surge in COVID cases. Celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo Ghosh, the film The Beginning of a Spiritual Journey was screened. President Vladimir Putin wrote to Prime Minister Narendra Modi that Russian-Indian relations are developing in the spirit of the special and privileged strategic partnership. In Herzliya, Tel Aviv, India's ambassador to Israel, Sanjeev Singla, unfurled the tricolour in the presence of about 300 people from the Indian community, emphasizing on efforts to deepen the strategic relationship between the two countries. People from the Indian Jewish community, Indian students and NRIs participated from all over Israel to celebrate Independence Day, even though it was a working day. The ambassador mentioned the participation of the Prime Ministers of the two countries in the first virtual summit of I2U2, referring to the new four-nation grouping comprising India, Israel, the US and the UAE. He also mentioned the meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with then Israeli Premier Naftali Bennett in November in Glasgow to discuss deepening of our relationship in bilateral innovation partnership in emerging technologies. The Indian envoy stressed the growing trade between the two countries as the high point deepening ties. The Indian High Commission in Ottawa, Canada joined hands with the Great India Festival, which promotes multicultural understanding by showcasing the culture and heritage of India through multifaceted programs to present an exhilarating performance by fusion troupe Red Barat. Anshuman Gaur, Deputy High Commissioner to Canada, inaugurated the event. The High Commissioner Manpreet Vora hoisted the tricolour. Justin Hayhurst, Deputy Secretary, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and members of the Indian diaspora attended the event. The 76th Independence Day of India was celebrated by the High Commission of India in Brunei at India House, residence of the High Commissioner of India. The National Day celebration saw the enthusiastic participation from the members of the Indian diaspora and Friends of India in Brunei. The program was live streamed on the social media handles of the High Commission of India to facilitate participation of a large number of Indian community members in Brunei. The High Commissioner Alok A. Dimri presented the medals and certificates to the winners of the Bharat Ko Janiye Quiz 2022 at the function. The 76th Independence Day of India was celebrated in Washington, D.C. with a flag hoisting ceremony at India House. The ceremony was attended by a number of Indians, diaspora members and friends of India and was live streamed to facilitate virtual attendance. The Ambassador of India, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, unfurled the tricolour, which was followed by singing of the national anthem. In his remarks, the Ambassador noted that India as a nascent democracy had traversed through odds to bring development, peace, security and prosperity not only to its people but for the world. Today, India is an indispensable part of the solutions to global challenges, be it in healthcare in the form of pandemic or in food security or critical technology. He emphasized that India-US partnership led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Biden has become one of the most consequential relationships for both the countries and for the world. Noting that the Indian diaspora is a crucial pillar of the India-US relationship, Ambassador appreciated the positive work that the Indian diaspora has been doing. He underscored Prime Minister Modi's message that the journey of the next 25 years would mark the Amrit Kal that would take India to new heights of prosperity. A short cultural program involving classical Indian dance, performances from four corners of India including Kuchipudi, Odissi, Kathak and Bharatnatyam dance forms performed by Indian origin students was presented during the ceremony. The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign was commemorated with a large handcrafted Indian tricolour being displayed during the occasion. Leaders from across the United States, including senior members of Senate and House, dignitaries from the diverse fields of business, arts and science conveyed their greetings on the momentous occasion. Prominent members of the Indo-American community, including representatives of various socio-cultural organizations, members of the business community and others also expressed their felicitations. The 75th anniversary of the Independence Day of India was celebrated with great joy at the Embassy of India, Warsaw. Jan Chandinsky, president of the Association of Poles in India, who spent his childhood in Kolhapur as one of the many thousands of Polish refugees in India in the 1940s, was an honored guest at the event. He recalled his participation at India's first Independence Day at Valivade, Kolhapur on 15th of August 1947. A special video produced by the Ministry of External Affairs on Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav highlighting India's achievements since independence was screened during the Independence Day celebrations. World leaders and celebrated individuals from across the globe congratulated India on the occasion of its 76th Independence Day. Rajachari, an Indian-American astronaut from NASA, also greeted India from the International Space.
More than 6 crore selfie with the international flag have been uploaded on the website set up for Har Ghar Tiranga campaign in India so far. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had launched the Har Ghar Tiranga movement to encourage people to bring the national flag home and hoist it to celebrate 75 years of India's independence. The idea behind the initiative was to strengthen the feeling of patriotism in the hearts of the people and to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in the spirit of Jan Bhagidari.
आसमान को पाना है, आसमान से आगे जाना है, नए भारत की नई कहानी अब आसमान को सुनाना है। गर्व है इस तिरंगे पर, सारे जहां को ये दिखाएंगे, अमृत काल मनाएंगे, घर घर तिरंगा लहराएंगे, घर घर तिरंगा।
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series, Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the eyes and the voice of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the magical moment of Mahatma Gandhi's first and only visit to the studios of All India Radio.
Mahatma Gandhi visited AIR studios at Broadcasting House, New Delhi on 12 November 1947. Through AIR, he addressed refugees fleeing Pakistan and camping at Kurukshetra. On reaching the studios, Gandhi said about radio, "It is a wondrous thing. In it, I see Shakti, the miraculous power of God."
घनश्याम दास जी ने शायद सोचना की कि अगर मैं रेडियो से बोलूं आपके लिए और आपके सामने तो अच्छा होगा, और पीछे जब जा सकता हूं तब जाऊं। तो मैं तो आपके पास आने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं। मैंने कुछ भी हिंदुस्तान की सेवा की है या तो कहो कि जगत की, क्योंकि मेरे पास हिंदुस्तान और जगत कोई अनोखी चीज नहीं है। अगर हिंदुस्तान की सेवा करता उसके मार्फत भी सारे जगत की सेवा करना, ये मेरा जीवन भर का मंत्र है।
He spoke for 20 minutes in which he appealed to the refugees to face their suffering with as much fortitude and patience as they could summon.
जब मैंने सुना कि आप लोगों में करीब 2.5 लाख रिफ्यूजी पड़े हैं और मैंने सुना कि अभी भी लोग आते ही रहते हैं, तो मुझको बड़ा दुख हुआ, मुझे चोट लगी और मुझको ऐसा ही हुआ कि मैं आपके पास पहुंच जाऊं। आने वाला तो कल था, लेकिन ये हो नहीं सकता था क्योंकि यहाँ ऑल इंडिया कांग्रेस कमेटी की मीटिंग के बारे में वर्किंग कमेटी मिलने वाली थी। तो घनश्याम दास जी ने शायद सोचना की कि अगर मैं रेडियो से बोलूं आपके लिए और आपके सामने तो अच्छा होगा, और पीछे जब जा सकता हूं तब जाऊं। तो मैं तो आपके पास आने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं। मैंने कुछ भी हिंदुस्तान की सेवा की है या तो कहो कि जगत की, क्योंकि मेरे पास हिंदुस्तान और जगत कोई अनोखी चीज नहीं है। अगर हिंदुस्तान की सेवा करता तो उसके मार्फत भी सारे जगत की सेवा करना, ये मेरा जीवन भर का मंत्र है।
To commemorate Gandhiji's only visit to AIR studios, 12th November is observed as Public Service Broadcasting Day in the country.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
China imposed visa bans and other sanctions on Taiwanese political figures on Tuesday as it raises pressure on the self-governing island and the United States in response to successive congressional visits. The sanctions came a day after China announced more military exercises in the seas and skies surrounding Taiwan. The sanctions were announced the same day a U.S. congressional delegation met with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen. A similar visit was made by U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi earlier this month, who became the highest-level member of the U.S. government to visit Taiwan in 25 years. The Chinese government objects to Taiwan having any official contact with foreign governments because it considers Taiwan its own territory and recently emphasized its threat to take the island by military force. The United States, South Korea and Japan participated in a ballistic missile defense exercise off the coast of Hawaii coast last week, revising combined drills with an eye on North Korea and China. The Pentagon, in a statement, said on Tuesday, the missile warning and ballistic missile search and tracking exercise took place between 8th and 14th of August during the multinational Pacific Dragon drills. It demonstrated the three countries' commitment to respond to challenges posed by North Korea, protect shared security and bolster the rules-based international border.
Kenya's veteran politician and presidential candidate Raila Odinga on Tuesday vowed to pursue the constitutional and legal options after rejecting the outcome of last week's election that handed the presidency to his rival William Ruto. Mr. Odinga was talking to reporters a day after the announcement of results for the presidential election held on 9th of August. He described the outcome as a travesty and a blatant disregard of the Constitution of Kenya. And now let's listen to a special segment, Papori. The death anniversary of spiritual leader Ramakrishna Paramhansa was observed in India on Tuesday. He was one of the most prominent religious figures of India during the 19th century. He was known for his kindness and devotion and for his simple explanations of the Hindu philosophy. Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa was born as Gadadhar Chattopadhyay to a poor Brahmin family hailed of Hooghly district in Bengal Presidency. Ramakrishna Paramhansa was the one who influenced and molded Swami Vivekananda's life. Reverence and admiration for him led to the formation of Ramakrishna Mission by Swami Vivekananda.
India paid tributes to Bharat Ratna former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his 4th death anniversary on Tuesday. He passed away on this day in 2018. Born on 25th December 1924 in Gwalior, Atal Bihari Vajpayee's contribution towards public life and India's development will always be cherished.
टूटे हुए सपने की सुने कौन सिसकी, अंतर को चीर व्यथा पलकों पर ठिठकी, हार नहीं मानूंगा रार नहीं ठानूंगा, काल के कपाल पर लिखता मिटाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ, गीत नया गाता हूँ.
India's President Draupadi Murmu led the nation in paying homage to Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other senior leaders paid their floral tribute to the visionary leader at his memorial Sadaiv Atal in the national capital on Tuesday. Parsi New Year, also known as Navroz, was celebrated across the globe on Tuesday. It is the most widely celebrated festival of the Parsi community. India's President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted all the fellow citizens, especially Parsi brothers and sisters, on the occasion of Parsi New Year.
FIFA, the apex international football, today announced that it has decided to suspend the All India Football Federation AIFF with immediate effect. An official release issued by FIFA said the decision has been taken due to undue influence from third parties, which constitutes a serious violation of the FIFA statutes. The release further stated that the suspension means that the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup, scheduled to take place in India from 11th to 30th of October this year, will not be held in India as planned. The 131st edition of Asia's oldest football tournament, Durand Cup, kicked off in Kolkata today. In the opening match, Mohammedan SC won against Goa FC by 3-1 in Kolkata. Out of the total 20 teams participating in the tournament, 11 teams have been played in the Super League. 5 teams are from I-League and 4 are from the Armed Forces.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian writes that Kenya opposition leader rejects election results as null and void. The Globe and Mail notes that UN Special Envoy travels to Myanmar for the first time since being appointed. South China Morning Post says Rohingya demand security as UN rights chief visits Bangladesh camps, and the Washington Post writes Biden to sign sweeping bill to tackle climate change. Lower healthcare costs. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India calls for comprehensive reform of United Nations structure. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hands over indigenously developed equipment and systems to Indian Army to enhance operational preparedness. New Delhi contributes $4 lakh to UN trust funds for protection of human rights. At least 31 people killed as heavy rain set off flash floods in Afghanistan. China imposes sanctions on Taiwanese political figures. US, South Korea and Japan hold a missile defense exercise off coast of Hawaii, and Asia's oldest football tournament, Durand Cup, kicks off. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Indonesia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.